Hello, I'm Valya Ragu. I have previously brought to you many segments in real estate in the Silicon Valley and the Bay Area. Today, I would like to introduce Shashank Shekar, who is the CEO of Arcus Lending. Welcome to the show, Shashank. I'm so glad you could be here today.
Thank you so much for having me on the show, Valya. I look forward to it.
Now, tell me, with all this buzz post-election and all the issues we've been having, I want to get your input on the impact on mortgages.
Sure. So this is how market behaves, Valya. If you are expecting a certain news and that's what happens, market usually does not behave strongly. For example, if the Secretary Hillary Clinton would have won the elections, which most people were thinking she would, then market would have already factored that into the movement that they were expecting. However, as we all know now that Donald Trump won the elections, which most people were not thinking about it. And when that happens, it's an upset. It's something that the market is not expecting to happen. And because that happens, even though it's very new that we have had the presidential election results, the mortgage-backed securities are already really trailing. What that means for our consumers or thinking of buying a home or refinancing is that mortgage rates are already up almost about 0.25% in most cases. So with Donald Trump's election, it's not just that he is going to be the president soon. The Republicans will control the House, Republican will control the Senate, and most likely even the Supreme Court judge office. And all of that put together, we know that Republicans are very business friendly, and the market is thinking that it will improve the economy, which is a bad news for rates. So what I think with mortgages is what's going to happen is that, and with Fed thinking of increasing the rate in December, all of that put together, we'll probably see a higher interest rate from now all the way through 2017.
And I definitely think that might have some impact with the real estate housing market in the Silicon Valley.
It could, but again, if you look at it historically, Valya, is that a small change in interest rate have had no impact really on real estate prices. The rates right now are under 4%. Even if it moves to 4.5%, I haven't seen a change like that really impacting real estate in a big way. If you look at the past, actually, even in last 8, 9, 10 years, the rates have been anywhere from 3.25% to 5.5%, and that hasn't really moved the real estate prices too much. So I'm not worried about real estate market taking a huge hit because the rates are going to inch up. They could take a bigger impact if the rates go up beyond 5% or something, which I personally am not expecting to happen anytime soon.
Good to know, Shashank, good to know. So as far as first-time home buyers, you don't think the marginal increase in rates is going to affect the market?
It should not, because if you're thinking of buying a home, if you look at the interest rates historically, we know in the 80s the interest rates were 18, 19%. In fact, just before 2008, the rates have averaged 6 to 7%. So we have had some of the best, in fact, the best interest rate years in the history of mankind, if you look at it. So a slight increase in rates should not deter first-time home buyers from buying. I personally think that home buying, it's so much more emotional decision than just the financial decision.
Absolutely.
And for that, the rates to be in, say, 4.25% or 4.5%, deterring someone from not buying their first home, I don't think it makes either a financial sense or an emotional sense for someone to wait for the rates to fall down, which may not happen in the future.
Because they could have missed the boat. Absolutely.
That's right. And it's the problem that a lot of us have is that we try to predict the future when it comes to real estate and mortgages, saying that we need to time the market when the rates will be low or real estate prices will be low. And it's impossible for anyone to time the market. Even some of the best economists are not able to predict the future in the right way. So we should buy when we think we have a need to buy and we can afford to buy. If you meet those two criteria, then you should be buying. You shouldn't
That's a great point,
yeah,
Shashank.
That's what I think.
Valuable point. So Shashank, I need your input on something very important for our viewers, and that's in relation to the buyers coming out today in the market, especially in the Bay Area market, the Silicon Valley market. And I want you to talk about preparedness for today's market.
Absolutely, as in the way the real estate market is in Silicon Valley right now, it is a seller's market, and I think that's obvious for everyone to see. When you are in a seller's market, it's very important that you are prepared well in advance when you're ready to make an offer on a house. It still surprises me, even with so much of education that you and I and other people in the industry are trying to provide, is that we have people come last minute saying, hey, I want to make an offer tomorrow. Can I get pre-approved? And it happens all the time, right? We see that. And that's not what, if our viewers are listening to it and they want to be looking at buying their first home or move up into and buying another home, is that they need to be prepared way well in advance. You need to get pre-approved. You need to understand what kind of loan that you qualify for. You need to understand what your payment will be. There are so many red flags that come at the last moment that cannot be fixed overnight. But if you get yourself pre-approved 2 or 3 months in advance, then even if there are problems with credit or assets, we can figure out solutions. We can talk about gifts. We can talk about fixing up credit. So that's my, in fact, number one advice for anyone who's buying a home, especially in the local market, which is a seller's market, that get yourself pre-approved way in advance before you're ready to make that offer on the house.
Also, it enables the buyers to do a no contingency offer as far as the financing.
Absolutely. If you're working with a lender that really understands financing and pre-approves you in a way which, say, an underwriter would if they were looking at your file, then that takes you as in heads up with some of the other people that you're competing with, because you can definitely go at least no loan contingency, which is huge for a seller who's looking at your offer, because the seller thinks that this loan is already going to go through. You're already halfway through into the transaction, and that's a big plus. So totally agree with you on that one.
Also, don't you agree that it makes our job so much more efficient? This is all about team effort. I've emphasized that in my other segments. And for us, for you and me to do our part, we absolutely need the buyers to be prepared and follow the right steps.
Yes, that is true, of course, but you and I are doing a good job for the interest of the buyer.
Absolutely.
And so we need to do what we need to do only to help them enable what they want to do, which is to own that home that they want to. So it is in their best interest, the kind of advice that we are giving, which is to be well prepared and get pre-approved in advance.
There is another topic, a favorite topic of mine, and I want your expertise on that.
Mm-hmm.
And this is in relation to the stock market.
Okay.
I want the buyers to get an understanding, buyers and sellers and the audience today, to get an understanding of the relationship of stocks to the interest rates, to the mortgage rates.
Sure.
And the impacts.
Of course. So we talked at the beginning of the show on how election of Donald Trump and a Republican into White House has already moved the stock prices up, which has resulted into higher interest rates. So the way the market works, Valya, is that a good news for economy is usually bad news for mortgage rates, and vice versa.
Absolutely.
So with a Republican in office and someone like Donald Trump, who has been a businessman in the past, the expectation is that it will help economy, which will help the stock prices, which in result will increase the mortgage rates, because mortgage-backed securities are kind of a bond that takes the impact when the stock prices go up. Also, when you see that the stock prices are going up, some investment may come out of real estate and be invested into stocks. We have seen in markets like 2009, 2010, when stock markets were not doing that well, people will use the same money to use towards real estate investment. And of course, it's very early for anyone to make any of these predictions. And Trump is not even a president as of now, he's just a president-elect. And it sometimes takes months, even years, for a policy to actually be seen in the real market on how it's playing out. But initial indications do point towards that, at least in the first few months, we'll see some policies that will spruce up some of these stocks, especially banking, because we are talking about deregulating banking. And that will increase mortgage rates. And that's why we talked about earlier in the show that it is a great time for buyers to be looking at buying that home before that rates jump to a point where it may not be that attractive anymore.
Absolutely.